Welcome everybody to our select board meeting, October 4th, our 6 o'clock meeting. Announcements from the chair. I have a couple little things I was asked to bring up about the trunk or treat at the community center. It's an annual thing, been an annual thing for a couple of years, and that's going to be, what's the date on this?
I think it's October 27th.
October 27th at 4:45 in the afternoon. And there are a lot of things happening at the community center. This is just one of many. There's a fabric swap or something. Katie's going to talk about her Fix-It-Fair thing, but you know, that's one thing about the community center. They get a lot of stuff going on. And where was the? There's a blood drive. You know that, yeah? If you could get that, because they wanted that announced. I know I had it here, but one thing I do want to mention, this is important, and it's kind of a good thing. We have a member of the Kennedy Park Committee, Bob Coakley, is retiring. He did retire effective his last meeting.
Right.
52 years he did that job. I mean, it's amazing. He put tons of effort in. Dave and I were discussing whether he is actually a charter member of it. I believe he probably is, because that's about when that started. But, you know, he's been through a lot of things, did a lot, stand-up guy, a real gentleman all the time, and, you know, we want to thank him for his service. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
Okay, the blood drive. This is a blood drive located at St. Anne's Church, 134 Main Street in Lenox. It's 9 to 2 p.m. and it's October 12th, 2023, and it is sponsored by the Lenox Police Department. So if anybody wants to show up to that, can show up to it, we'd appreciate it. So now we'll move on to the acceptance of the minutes of September 20th.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes from September 20th meeting of the Lenox Select Board.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Citizens Open Forum. Anybody here to speak under Citizens Open Forum? Katie?
Thank you very much. Kate McNulty Vaughn, 10 Post Road. I'm here tonight to talk about the Fix-It Fair, which we do twice a year, and the cameras are here tonight, so thank you for indulging this, select board members. It will be Saturday, October 21st. It's from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. Household items, clothing, etc. If you have any questions, not sure if your item is something we could fix, give either Ellen Jacobson or me a call, and you know, we can put it out to our volunteers and make sure that somebody will come with the right tools or the right glue or whatever you need. So I think that's pretty much it. It's at the community center a couple of Saturdays from now, and I mentioned to the select board the last time I was here, the last one that we had in the spring was the biggest one we've ever had. So I don't know if I should tell you to come early or later, but sometimes actually later in the afternoon it sort of quiets down, but not too late. Don't come at 5 or 4. But we hope that a lot of citizens will pass this around on social media, and anybody should just pop your head in and take a look. It's a lot of fun. We ask you to drop things off. But stay and have a coffee or a cider and some of the cookies that we make, so that you can answer questions also if we're fixing an item of yours. So that's pretty much it. Saturday, October 21st, 1 to 4, Community Center. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks you and Ellen for doing it.
Recording in progress.
Yes, it is.
Sorry.
Okay, anybody else for Citizens Open Forum? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda, and the clerk, Dave Roach, will read the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The consent agenda. Appoint Ann M. Moore to the Register of Voters. Appoint John Simons to the Zoning Board of Appeals member. Appoint Arthur Oliver to the Zoning Board of Appeals associate.
I'll put a hold on those two.
Okay. One-day all alcohol license for Timothy Hirschfield, October 14th, 3 to 10 p.m. I better read where that was called. Venford Hall. One-day wine and malt license for Andrea Pignatelli, seeking license Saturday, October 7th from 12 to 4 p.m. at St. Anne's Church. One-day all alcoholic license for Haley Barbary for Thursday, October 12th from 4 to 8 p.m. at Venford Hall. One-day all alcohol license for Venford Hall is seeking for Tuesday, October 26th from 6 to 10 p.m. And a donation acceptance for the police department and a donation acceptance from the fire department. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you want to take up the two holds first? I just want to make a quick comment about it, that's all.
Go
The
ahead.
appointment of John Simons and Arthur Oliver to the zoning board. John would be put on as a full member, which is unusual, but usually they start as an associate. But they're just crying for help. They need help. So he's a good man. I talked to him about it, and I think we all we know him in one form or another.
Right.
So I think he'll be good. And the other was Arthur Oliver, and he's going to be an associate on the committee. And Chris Ketchen and Glenn talked to these people. This was their recommendation. I talked to Robert Fuster, and I talked to Sean Leary-Considine. Both were happy with having somebody there, happy with both people. So we probably could use another person or two in the future. So appreciate them stepping up to do this, though.
Yep.
So, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
A second?
Second?
Oh.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving right along to general business. The Dr. Sachs House at 35 Walker Street requests an all-alcoholic in-holders license. This hearing is continued from June 20th, when we couldn't do it because there's a little snafu with the getting the public notice printed. So the meeting is open, and our clerk will read the notice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Notice is hereby given that a hearing will be held by the Select Board in their capacity as licensing board on the application for an annual all-alcoholic and in-holders license, which has been filed with the local licensing board by Dr. Sachs, LLC, DBA, Dr. Sachs House, Kelly Binder, manager for the premises, located at 35 Walker Street, Lenox, and consisting of 3 floors. First floor common reception area, office, kitchen, restaurant, with a seating for 60. 6 guest suites are located on the second floor, and 3 guest suites will be located on the third floor. There will be an outdoor patio on which food and beverage, all alcohol or alcohol included, will be served. The patio is approximately 1,500 square feet. The board will act on said application on Wednesday, October 4th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the Select Board's Meeting Room, Town Hall Building, Lenox, Mass. Ed Lane, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Roach. And I think we have Attorney Jeff Lynch here representing the applicants. So if you can explain to us what we're looking at here and what we're going to do.
Sure. Thank you very much. Again, Jeff Lynch for the applicants. Kelly and Brian Binder are the owners of 35 Walker Street. I represented them in their purchase of the property and subsequent zoning applications whereby they have received the zoning approvals to convert the house, which was, it used to be an inn with a full restaurant, converted to a single-family home. In order to bring it back, we had to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals and get special permits to do so. We've secured those as represented in the notice. It's for a 9-room inn with the 3 rooms on the top floor, 6 on the second, and then a reception restaurant area on the first. It is intended to be a small-scale operation right now. The small being emphasized with only 60 seats for patrons. They are not intending at this point in time to have a full commercial kitchen. So it's going to be sort of a small European-style cafe is how they want to describe it. Their menu, as they continue to think about it, is olives, nuts, popcorn, things that you may see at a bar, elevated a little bit in terms of the type of offerings. As an example, caviar with kettle potato chips and accoutrements, vegetables, fruit plates, obviously things for their guests during breakfast time. They'd like to offer brunch and then go and continue to have their hours extended to offer a late night bar menu at the restaurant. Again, all sort of pre-made salads, sandwiches, if that strikes the right idea. Again, they continue to sort of evolve as they get through it. The hours that we're requesting are the hours that are permissible in Massachusetts at this point in time, which would be Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. until 1 a.m., which I think is an hour, a little bit, closed an hour earlier than we're allowed to under Mass law, and then on Sundays from 10 a.m. This will give them an opportunity to create brunch offerings, have offerings for their guests who stay overnight in the morning. Again, market may dictate how those hours are adjusted, but it's easier, I think, to ask for the expanded hours right now, and if we need to, then we have the flexibility to create our own hours at that point in time. Of course, the outdoor patio is located on the Church Street side of the property. What I circulated before the meeting started was just existing plan, which would be the first page. So that's how the property looks today. The second page is the interior of the restaurant and in, so you can sort of, and I apologize, so small, I don't, I should get full-size survey plans for you, but what I can do for Deanna is I can send it over as a PDF, and that'll let you expand it and see a little bit more. Well, again, the restaurant operations will all be concentrated on the first floor, and then with that patio on the Church Street side of the property, which is on the third page, where you can see how they're reconfiguring the entranceway and then the side entrance off of Church Street. And so the patio area is towards the rear of the building. That's the area where it'll read, there's an arrow pointing to a new stone paver terrace. So that's going to be defined and delineated as the particular area. It'll probably have a small wall made out of stone, likely, with pavers for that area. So it'll be clearly defined. All of the area will be visible from the main restaurant. It's accessible from the restaurant area. So we're checking the boxes on what the ABCC looks for, which is the idea that we can control and manage and supervise any alcohol sales that are out there.
And that doesn't encroach on the parking lot at all?
It does not. No, everything that's been designed, again, we've been working with Greylock, and we've been through the zoning board, and so this configuration is what was approved by the zoning board of appeals. Kelly and Brian are enthusiastic younger couple, they have other businesses, and Kelly is looking to transition this to be a full-time project for her. A little bit of her work history was submitted with the application. A lot of it is in organizational structures. I've been able to work with them for at least the past year and a half, 2 years. Extremely bright, well-spoken, have great ideas for it. So I'm sure they're going to be a welcome addition to the town, and looking really forward to the product that they're able to put forth on this scale. Of course, the building is going to be renovated. They've been working with the building department already, architects. That project is already funded. They have commercial lending in place to fund that project, and so that's proceeding as we speak. I'm sort of coming in now as a tail end to make sure that we can get the licenses in place so that if the construction can go as planned, hopefully they can see part of the season in 2024. So I don't think that there's any inhibitants to Kelly as the manager or this application itself, and so I'd certainly like to request your approval of it.
Thanks. Oh, I'm sorry.
So, excuse me.
No, go ahead.
So, you mentioned the hours of operation, but they're not in the license. You said you're running from 8 a.m. till 1 p.m. for the liquor license?
8 a.m. to 1 a.m.
1 a.m.
Yes, correct.
Are we approving that tonight?
That's the request,
But
certainly.
it's not in the hearing.
So-
Isn't it usually in the hearing? No?
No, not generally, and even in fact, the application
What
doesn't
about
request that.
What about noise and entertainment, outdoor entertainment?
We will be back to you for a separate entertainment license.
All right.
So none is in front of the board right now. I can say, given the size, the patio is only 1,500 square feet, isn't giving us a lot of leeway to have any kind of entertainment be functional out there, along with offering seating for the guests. So anything that I can anticipate right now would be low piped-in background type music. If they're able to offer any kind of live music or entertainment, likely it would be positioned inside the building.
So Dave brings up a point about
Yeah.
the hours.
Sure.
I don't know who would know this. What other restaurants in town have typical hours?
He would know.
Next, you know?
I mean, they vary.
You know.
They vary greatly. You've got, like, Ombra, that Whitney Asher owns, is open, and he serves food until midnight and serves beverage till 1. Probably closes earlier. I can say that Gateways is, because we have in-guests, stop serving at 9. So it just kind of, there's not a lot that go too late, but there's,
It's the early part that I was wondering about.
yeah, most
You
are
know, I
open.
get it. You
Yeah,
really-
Brava does 5 to 10 usually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but Gateways does brunch on the weekends, especially in the summer. They'll do
What
open at
about
10.
the inn next door to them?
Whitlock?
Well, Whitlock and Max's, I know they're now down to lounge hours. I don't know what they were approved for. What we're requesting is what is allowed by the statute. And so I don't anticipate, and given the number of rooms that we have there, that even if they were requested to have a mimosa or a Bloody Mary served at 9:00 a.m., I think that would be the infrequent
I know you're concerned
service.
about the morning hours. I'm concerned about the evening hours. Because
Yeah.
we've had noise complaints, we've had other issues over in that corner over the years, so, I don't know.
Well, we've done away with nobody's open after 1. That's the
Yeah.
latest.
Right. But I'd like to know what the hours are of the old Church Street Inn are, so that they're comparable. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what
Right now,
exactly
they're
what you're
only
saying.
open till
I'm trying to
8.
think how we can get it.
Right now, they're only doing the lounge till 8. I think, I would imagine, for the remainder of this season and through the winter, their plan is to run that internally, and just offer bar beverages until 8 PM. I think they would ideally like to get back to having an operator in there that would offer dinner service and probably go till 9 or 10.
9 or
But
10.
I know they've had trouble with the
Staffing.
staffing and
yeah.
all that. But what does their permit say? That's what I think Dave's looking for.
It must go, I'm sure it goes till 10 at least, because they were
Yeah.
serving that way all summer. I don't know.
Not one.
Not 1.
I know the renovated Days Inn, I believe, because I did that application,
Yeah.
I believe we got until 1 o'clock there.
You did.
I believe Apple Tree Inn is until 1 o'clock. That would be a similar property, albeit not in the center
Well,
of
it's
the
in the
commercial
middle of
district,
nowhere,
but we are in the commercial district.
It's-
Obviously, we're not in a residential.
No, I understand that, but we also have apartments in that area too, on Church Street. And that's what the issue was
Maybe.
before when we had Rumpy's
Yeah,
issues.
you lived through that, yeah.
Yeah, that was, I know that the Church Street properties that are owned by Drew Davis, those are actually small inns permitted. There may be a few, obviously, we gave notice to the Housing Authority, who is probably the closest type of residential neighbor. I have not had any correspondence from anybody for or against in any of the abutting properties. I think it's wholly appropriate. I think if we look at the Heritage, some of the other places that try to remain open later, they were given that opportunity. Again, I want to stress sort of the scale that we have here, and I fully anticipate, even when I ask for those hours, that I think the market may dictate that they operate similar to their immediate adjacent neighbors, where doing the staffing or seasonal hours, they just bring them back voluntarily. You know, if there's a middle ground, 12 o'clock would be fine to start in terms of an end date or end time. If we wanted to say 10 a.m. in the morning for the first service, I think that would be appropriate and acceptable too. But again, I'm trying to be broad, give them the opportunity, the best opportunity that they can have to succeed. This board has the full authority with noise complaints, with any other kind of issues, to call us immediately in. It's your license, we're the recipients of it, we're the benefactors of it, but it's at your discretion. So you have full authority to find and/or listen to any complaints that may arise during the operation.
Jeff, I agree. We have that option all the time. And we have the option to raise the time limit also. I'm thinking because there are concerns, that maybe we should make it the minimum now, and then we can do some homework and see what everybody else is doing in the area. And then if the board feels to expand that, we can do that part of it. You know, I don't want to hold the thing up because I think it's it's been in as long as I can remember. So I'm fine with it.
A candlelight.
The candlelight and,
Groceries.
So,
Chef
sorry,
Carl's.
I'm going to just interrupt real quick. This isn't thought to be open until mid to late season 2024?
That's what I'm anticipating.
Okay, so if we approve shorter hours now, we can do a little research. You could always come back, next April, and we could change it then, once, or, even like.
Or sooner.
Or like, a month, and we can
What
fix
are we
it.
anticipating, or what do you anticipate would be the reasoned hour limits that you place on an approval today?
Anticipate a reason.
What would be the, not the reason for it, but what would be the reasonable hours that you
Well,
would,
let's say 10 to 10.
that would be fine.
That would be fine.
Yeah.
And
That gives
because,
them an
I want-
opportunity to serve.
I don't want to hold
later.
these people up. I want
Yeah.
to make sure, they want to feel comfortable that they can move forward with the thing.
That's right.
And then we'll do some research and find out what other places have for hours,
Mhm.
and then we can adjust it again. Because we can adjust it up and down if there's
Right,
but I'd rather err on the side of caution than,
yeah. We'd like to be competitive also. We don't want
Of
to
course.
start with a one-arm tie behind our back.
But you want to be
Just
competitive as an
providing
inn though,
service. It's an inn.
not like the Heritage House, which is a bar.
No, this is an inn holder's
So
license.
we'll make sure you're competitive as an inn
Yeah,
within the community. I think that's fair.
With that in mind, then I would probably go a bit earlier just on the breakfast side, because as an inn, if you're gonna wanna offer breakfast as an amenity, nobody's gonna wanna eat at 10 a.m. at all.
That's
It's just-
true.
It won't be a draw. So I would think that in respect to their business and trying to support it, you're not gonna get, I would say 9 or even 8 is more than reasonable, because the only reason to serve breakfast is for your in guests. I think it would be, if you say 10, that no longer becomes a reason to book there, in my opinion.
Yep,
yeah, well,
that's,
you're in the business, so
Yeah.
we'll listen to you.
and I appreciate that input, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we'll say 8 to 10?
8 to 10.
Is that okay?
I have no problem in the morning.
yeah, that's
Okay.
great.
Yeah.
Okay,
8 to 10, and we'll just work at moving it, to make it so it is competitive with the neighbors.
right. Okay.
Super.
Then we'll see you when you get your entertainment license.
Yes.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So I guess we have to close the public hearing? and
Yeah, unless
vote on this?
there's anybody else in the public that wants to speak. So we'll get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So you have a motion,
Oh, yeah, let me,
and we'll just put that amendment on the motion.
okay, thank you. I'm not sure it's even here. So, I move to approve the all-alcoholic inn holder's license application for Dr. Sachs House located at 35 Walker Street, submitted July 6th, 2023, as presented, with the amended. But that wasn't even the terms.
Well, it was in the application.
It was in the
It was in the
application. Yeah,
application,
okay, yeah, we're
not
right.
in, not in the.
As amended, and you're gonna amend it, thank you. Not you.
The hours of 8 to 10.
Yes.
I'm not even sure if that's amended. The application, for whatever reason, doesn't even ask hours of operation. So I don't think it's in my written document
All right.
to request. It's always a matter of course as I come and do the presentation and we talk to the board about the hours that we'd like and we do engage in what we just did.
So we're good and we understand each
Yeah,
other, so.
yeah, exactly.
That's what counts. All right,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Good luck.
Jeff. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Lots of paper here, this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is the small cell wireless infrastructure. We're going to discuss implementation of regulation as presented by the planning board, and they presented that to us last week. We have an updated copy in our packets, and which we've all read and studied, and the planning board has given this every bit of thought that they can give it, like they usually do in these type of things, and I'm fully on board with it myself.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like a really great regulation that honestly mirrors in every way, shape, and form the zoning regulations that we passed at this past May's town meeting. And there are very stringent hurdles, qualitative hurdles that any applicant is going to have to meet with regard to location, operation, the look, the co-location. There are any number of really specific qualitative factors that any applicant is going to have to meet. And so I think it's very well written.
I agree.
I agree as well.
Okay.
Yep, I'm ready to go ahead and vote on it.
All right,
As am I.
well, if we can get a motion, and we'll do just that.
I'll give you the motion. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve implementation of the process and regulation for grant of location for small wireless facilities in the public right-of-way as presented.
Second.
And is there any further discussion?
I would just want to thank the planning board for all their hard work on this. They worked, for months on this, as well as the time that they took on the zoning regulation to get everything right for public right-of-way, and I think they did an excellent job.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. So next we have the CDBG Housing Rehab Program.
Yes. Hi, Cassie.
Cassie Boyd will share some information. I'm going to actually turn this over to Mary Beth, because this is in her wheelhouse too. And she brought this to our attention, and thank her for that.
There, oops, sorry. Sorry about that, I just unclicked you. You can unmute yourself again. Okay, excellent.
There we go.
This is Cassie Boyd. She is with Bailey Boyd, a consultant that we are entertaining, working with for this CDBG grant application, and she will explain it more fully to you now. Thanks for being here, Cassie.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me here virtually. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight. As Mary Beth said, I am the president of Bailey Boyd Associates. We're a grant writing and administration firm that specializes in the Community Development Block Grant Program. That's funded through what used to be DHD and now is the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. It's a wonderful program that we run throughout the state. We've been running this program in the Berkshires since 2017. And the basis of the program is a housing rehabilitation program where funds go to homeowners who are at 80% of median income or below, who are in need of critical repairs, code violations, new roofs, septics, handicap accessibility. You saw in your packet there's a brief introduction to the program and the type of services this program can provide. Those are all done at a forgivable 0% deferred loan. So as long as the homeowner stays in their property for 15 years, the loan is completely forgiven, there's no payments. If that homeowner leaves at any time after the work's been done, the portion of the loan that's not forgiven yet goes back to the town and is put in a fund that is specially held for future programs like this. Our firm has been doing this program for about 30 years in the state. My mother actually started this Bailey Boyd Associates, and she lived in Sandusfield for many years, which is why we started doing work in the Berkshires. And I've taken over as owner, so we are continuing the tradition. I had a wonderful discussion last week or 2 weeks ago now with Mary Beth and with Gwen Miller about discussing adding Lenox as an applicant for the next program round. There are a lot of pieces that have to come into play. It's a complicated application, so we have to start thinking about it now. But the way that our firm operates, the model is that we do it at no cost to the town. We write the grant on contingency, meaning if the grant is funded, the grant pays for us to write it. And then the town would go out to bid for a grant administrator, which we would bid on, although you'd have obviously no requirement to hire us. And then the program would be run independently from the town. We would be in communication with updates But the model that we run is designed to take the burden off of towns. This program requires a lot of compliance, and that's something we specialize in. I know that the need is significant in Lenox, and I think that this program would do a lot of good for residents that don't have another place to turn. Primarily in the Berkshires, we see elderly residents that would like to age in place, but can't afford the much needed repairs on their home, or younger families who, just moved in and don't have a lot of equity in their home to borrow against. We do lead abatement, which makes the older homes in the area much safer, and it helps people stay in the homes that they bought. So I'd love to talk to you about this a little bit more and discuss whether you think Lenox would be a good fit for this program or this application.
Great. I mean, I don't have any questions, but maybe some of the other folks
First
here.
blush, it sounds great. I think my question would be, and I'm one of these people that worries about everything, but where does the money actually come from? Where do you get the grant money for this?
So the funds are originally designated from HUD, and they go to every state for this community development block program. And states all operate slightly differently, but in Massachusetts, they're run through a competitive grant round application. So it's federal money funneled to the state. And only communities under a certain size and with a significant population of low and moderate income residents apply. It's competitive. So being able to demonstrate need is important to getting the funds.
So are there other people that do this?
There are some folks who use planning agencies. Some do it in-house in town. There are a few other consultants like us around. It's a mixed bag as the various towns choose who they'd like to use. Because it's competitive, it can be a bit tricky to do it in-house because obviously there's no guarantee year on year. But we've been doing it for 30 years and had great success.
Cassie, can you tell everybody some of the other communities that you work with in Berkshire County?
Sure. We've worked with a handful of communities. We've worked in Monterey and Sandusfield, Egremont, and Great Barrington, and we recently also got Lee funded through the Egremont grant. So in the newest round, it just got funded and started. There'll be a Great Barrington grant and an Egremont Lee grant.
Terrific.
So, may I ask a question?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
How do our demographics stack up with the rest of the communities?
You're very competitive. Yes, you're just pretty much right average with the communities I just named. So I have no concerns about Lenox's ability to be funded. Those numbers do change. I mentioned when I was speaking to Mary Beth that we're all waiting to see how they change because of COVID. The new numbers haven't come out. But I think anyone who understands the community understands that the people who need these funds did not, dwindle in numbers during COVID. If anything, that need is greater.
And Cassie, explain a little bit about how you go about assessing the need and the fact that we're looking to sort of start a waiting list.
So the process, if you decide to move forward, is that we will start being in the community a little bit, slowly at first, because if all goes to plan, we really wouldn't be starting up until this time next year. But we'll start by doing little info sessions, spreading out what's called a pre-application, which is a one-page form that gives you a little bit of the information that you've got sheet, some of the income requirement information, and truly just puts you on our wait list so that as soon as the program is able to start, we have a group of residents that know a little bit and are ready to fill out a complete application. The application in full is a bit more onerous because it's a federal and state grant program. There's income qualification work to do. Additionally, we will be advocating doing what's called windows permits, which are part of the grant, which means that we will be a survey of the community just for our car windows, that's why it's called the windshield survey, to assess the housing stock to demonstrate to the funding source that there are homes in town that need work. And you can see from the photos from the one-pager of the type of work that we can demonstrate. So we'll start being in the community bit by bit, and then, once fingers crossed, once funded and get going, we will be in touch with everyone in the town to try to spread this word and build a true wait list. The intention with many of our programs and the programs we operate is that this is a year-on-year application. Every year we apply for funds. So this program continues. We work through a wait list for years. And some of the communities we work with have been funding them for 20 years, pretty much continually.
That's great, thanks.
Mr. Chair, are members of the Affordable Housing Trust allowed to ask questions?
Sure, why not, Chris, yeah.
Hi, Chris Benton with the Affordable Housing Trust. It's three questions that should be quick answers, I would imagine. How much would the town of Lenox typically be allowed to raise for the grant? What is the maximum per homeowner for the grant? And how do you, is there a priority list? How do you determine the wait list? Is it first come, first serve, or is it a priority list?
Sure. So for the total grant amount, it depends partially on whether Lenox decides to apply with another community. It's something Mary Beth, Gwen, and I discussed that we can talk more about once we know more about the next application. But typically towns apply together. So for example, if Lenox and Lee decide to apply together, this isn't said yet, typically two towns would be eligible for $1 million per grant year. And that would cover the cost of administering the program plus the funds for these homes. I would expect that maybe 15 to 20 homes would be done per grant year. We can spend up to $50,000 per home. But there's some qualifications to go up to 50, but many homes can do $50,000. Sorry, I forgot the third question.
The third question was, how do you arrange the wait list? Is it first come, first serve, or is it a priority?
Sorry. It's first come, first serve, which is why we start this waitlist program. That just gets you on our mailing list, and then what will happen once the program is funded is that the organization that's going to be doing the on-the-ground work for the housing program sends out a notice that applications are available, and we take them in the first pack to come in, we process those and get them going. The next pack come in where we're able to keep going our process. So it's not anything but first come, first served.
And are they local contractors that you use?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the benefit right now for Lenox is that we have this program up and running in Berkshire County. So there's contractors already being used nearby.
Can people apply for money to do some work and then do it themselves? Does it have to be a
No,
certified
it has to be
contractor?
done through the program. And that's just to ensure that everything's done up to code and other inspections. There's a lot, the contractors are vetted very heavily to be part of this program. The intention is that once we do this work, you don't have to do it again. It's top notch.
So do you have contractors in place now, or you're just hoping to get
For
contractors?
the programs that are operating in Egremont and Great Barrington, there are contractors working there right now.
Do you pay the contractor or do you pay the homeowner?
Contractor. But the homeowner signs off on every single payment.
So who selects the contractor, the homeowner or you?
So it's a full bidding process. The homeowner's part of what's called a walkthrough. So we invite all homeowners to walk through the home with a work write-up, a list of the work to be done. We have to prioritize that based on code violations and things like lead abatement. But that's something that's done with the homeowner to ensure that their desires are also met. The walkthrough is done with the contractors, the homeowner, and the program manager for the program. Then it is put out to bid formally. Bids come in. The program requires that we choose the lowest compliant bidder. If the homeowner would like a different contractor that bid, they have the option of paying the difference between the low bid and their preferable contractor's cost.
I mean, it sounds very interesting. I can see some things that would be, I don't understand completely yet. That concern me.
It's a very complex program.
But it's definitely, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't pursue this and, look into it, stay right on it, don't you?
I agree.
So, can I ask one more question?
Yeah,
sure.
So, how do you make money? Do you service the account, the loan? Is that how you make your money?
No, we're paid through the grant as the grant administrator. We're a line item in the budget.
So, okay.
So we don't cost the town anything, but there's a percentage that we are allowed to charge. And so as part of the grant application, that's built in.
Okay, I mean, I've worked for grant-funded agencies for a lot of years, so I understand how that process goes, but, yeah, okay. So you apply for the grant or the town applies for the grant?
The the town applies. We prepare it in conjunction with you. Our model is to do it, to take as much work off of your plate as possible, but certainly in connection with you. Lennox would like to move forward. I'd keep in touch with Mary Beth and with Glenn, and then officially there would be a public hearing where the board voted to apply. That would happen around the end of the year, early January.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm asking so many questions, but in the event of...
No, it's fine.
Okay, in the event of a default, who eats the loan? Does the town eat the loan?
No, there's no loan to eat in that sense.
We don't have to reimburse the
We do a
grant?
full underwriting process.
Yep.
Sorry.
Do we have to reimburse the grant funds for a failed loan or a failed grant? So if somebody,
Sorry, you're,
I'm trying to picture this.
The way in which this works, and Cassie, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a loan document that's written up.
Right.
And it's for a 15-year time frame.
Right.
If the owner, makes all these changes to the house, and then the next year they sell the house, they're like, wow, I got all these changes made, speculatively leaves the house, that entire grant amount minus 1 year would be repaid to the town because there's a lien placed on the property.
There is a lien.
Right.
Yes.
But I
And
think,
so
I
the
think a different
town,
question is, what if they default on their mortgage loan with
Right.
the bank? Things happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What happens if they default on their mortgage loan a year later? What happens to the remaining grant funds? How do those get paid back, or are those part of the default of the state?
Cassie, I'm going to let you take that one.
sure. Well, we don't have that happen typically because we do a full underwriting process before anyone is admitted into the grant. They have to have enough equity in their home and not be underwater. We do a debt to value analysis to ensure that they're not going to default on their home. Obviously, we can't say what's going to happen 12 years from now, but at that point, only 3 years of the loan is left. So we would process that in accordance with the options available, but I will tell you that in my years doing this, I think I've seen one default, and that was during the time that houses weren't worth what they are today. We are very careful about the underwriting process and do not take folks that don't have the equity to cover this loan.
I'm sorry, Kate had a question.
Yeah. I actually spoke with a fellow named Fred Clark, who's in the affordable housing situation down in Great Barrington, and he raved about this.
Yeah.
And then in talking with other people, I think it would be useful for you guys to talk to the folks who are in the same seats in Egremont, Renee down in Sheffield, and various other people who have really benefited from this program, because they have nothing but wonderful things to say about it. And about, the fact, as Cassie has said, you've got a program manager, the homeowner, and the contractor going through the house. And that program manager from, my conversation with Fred, really does a very involved and dynamic job of overseeing this on the ground here. But I'd say, I would recommend, talk to the folks in Egremont and Sheffield and Great Barrington who've been involved in this, because it's been really successful in the millions of dollars and improvements to homes in those towns.
Yeah, thanks, Katie, that makes a lot of sense. I'm glad you brought that up, or talked to people that are actually involved
And
in
they've
this.
had the experience of kind of the same questions that are being raised here tonight, as far as, how the mechanics of it.
And Cassie, the building inspectors, the town building inspectors are involved in signing off on all of these upgrades.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we've got
Permits
that.
are pulled, we're very involved in the town. Construction law is followed. There's even actually a fourth person that I didn't mention that goes through this process with the program manager, and that's a housing rehab specialist. They specialize in code, they do the work right up, they are construction supervisor basically. And they are on the ground as well, making sure that everyone is compliant, but also that the homeowner and the contractor are working together to get to the, correct end goal. And to echo your point, I do suggest you speak particularly to Egremont. They're a community we work with right now. We haven't worked with Sheffield, but Great Barrington just got funded with us for their first grant. We've been, running the program through Egremont for Great Barrington for a few years now, but also Monterey and Huddersfield we worked with recently.
Great.
I think we got to pursue this, and I'll ask you, Mary Beth, do you want to take the lead and work with Cassie and Glenn?
Absolutely.
And keep us, work whatever information you can give us and keep us informed.
Definitely. I mean, Cassie will be back to formally ask the select board if we'd like to participate in this process, and then we have to have a public hearing, within the community, at least one, possibly two. I really don't recall.
One at this point
Yeah.
to apply,
Okay,
correct?
great. So we'll be on board with all of that, and I will keep Cassie in the loop, and I'll keep everybody here informed.
Appreciate it.
Great,
Okay, Dick?
Yeah.
great.
Excellent.
Thank you, Cassie. We'll be in touch.
Chris, you good?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
You guys are good? Everybody
Thank you.
good on the trust? Thank you. Okay, thanks, Cassie. I'll be in touch.
Thank you so much. It was nice to see you all.
You too.
Thanks, Cassie.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was
Okay.
interesting. Thanks for bringing her in to us.
Sure.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
That's great. So that takes care of our business for the night. Our next meeting is going to be October 18th. Is there anything any of the board members want to bring up at this point?
I would like to state that there's going to be, the Lenox Library Association is holding its annual book sale this weekend here in Town Hall. It'll be Saturday and Sunday. I don't know if there's an entry fee. I didn't pay attention to that part of it. Sometimes there's an early entry fee. If you want to get in early, you pay $5 and you get the first crack at the books, but I don't know if that's happening this year. But anyway, it's like 10 to 5 both days, or 10 to 4. Come on in. Really great selection of gently used books. And, we encourage everyone to fill up a bag, take them home and read them all winter.
Perfect. Okay, with that, if I can get a motion to adjourn?
Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.